Good evening, Mr. Mike. How are you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
It's been a rough week for me, as you know.
Sure.
Um, yeah, it's been a very rough week, but we won't get into the gory details on YouTube because that is not why I'm here, and that's not why I do what I do up on here. So I thought about doing this video for a long time. This particular video right here. This one video right here I've thought about doing for about a year now. But obviously the reason I couldn't do it is because it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the appropriate time. But now that we are in a new generation and the PS5 and the Xbox Series X has been out for going on 2 months now. Yeah, it's about time for me to reveal what I consider to be the top 10 best and the top 10 worst video games of the 8th generation, which is the PS4, Xbox One generation. You know, the generation that just ended. So
big moment right here.
Yes, very big moment, very big moment. So, like I said, I have a list, and we'll just go through each one and discuss my picks. This is my personal top 10. So we're going to start off with the top 10 worst. And so at number 10, I have Dead or Alive 6.
Okay, so what's your issue with that game right there?
So Dead or Alive 6, first of all, coming off of Dead or Alive 5, Dead or Alive 5 is the game that I played. I played a lot of Dead or Alive 5. Like, I played the shit out of that game. Like, I put like 500 hours into that game, and I learned most of the characters on the roster. And of course, I had my favorite character, which is Hitomi. And I had my second favorite character is Ayane. Third is probably Kasumi. Like I said, I had my favorites and everything, and yeah, it was a very solid fighting game. I mean, there was the controversy with the skins and the DLC and all that, which I understand. You know, I completely agree that that shit is absurd. But I was expecting more out of Dead or Alive 6, and I didn't get what like I didn't really get a new game. I just got a retread of a game that I had already played with less content than what was in the last game that preceded this one.
For someone like me, I'm not too much familiar with the game. So, like, what kind of content was missing from the previous games that you loved?
Well, when Dead or Alive 6 was first announced, I mean, there were red flags with the announcement. Trying to remember like some of the things that Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja were doing. Like the way they were marketing the game was just very unprofessional. It seemed like they made it seem like they were trying to take it more seriously as a fighting game instead of it having essentially being this this light, porn type of game that's just fighting and just has a bunch of attractive women in it, a bunch of attractive fictional females. But essentially, that's really, they only did that for the marketing of the game. When the game actually came out, like the very day it actually came out, they announced this $93 season pass full of all these different deluxe edition.
$93.
yeah, $93 worth of DLC costumes. And so at that point, when I read that, it was very clear to me that their plan was to essentially take the business model that they used for Dead or Alive 5 and then try and basically recycle it into 6 and just try and bank off of the off the same business formula that they came up with for Dead or Alive 5. Another thing is that they had characters from the previous game that were inserted into the new game as DLC, which didn't make much sense at all. Characters such as Rachel, characters such as Momiji, characters such as Phase 4, all of these characters, oh, and Neo Tengu as well. These characters were made as DLC, like paid DLC, when they were already available in the previous game that you could buy for like $17 by the time 6 came out. So they didn't have like a strong, a strong set of, post-launch content through the DLC. And to make it even worse, it wasn't just an issue with the DLC and everything, but even like the new characters that they put into the game. They had two. One was called Nico. I actually want you to look up this character right now, and you tell me what you think. Type in Dead or Alive 6 Nico. You tell me your thoughts, because yeah, when this character was revealed, I made a video about this, over a year ago, and you had a bunch of dumbass fanboys defending this dumb shit right here. The bitch doesn't even look like a Dead or Alive character at all. It looks like something out of a fucking...
I was looking at the Steam page before this, and, and I gotta agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the bitch looks like something out of a Japanese hentai, Yeah, it's just like I can't get with that at all. That's just childish. It's amateurish character design, and it's just stupidity. Then they had another one called Diego. That character just seemed random to me. I didn't really care for that character. And those were really the only two new characters that they added to the series, and that was just...
Wow.
Both of them were a joke. Yeah, I mean, this game died fast. It died fast online. The online was fucking terrible. There was no multiple different like game variants for the online mode. It was just ranked match. Like, that's all you could play. It just said ranked match, and then later they added lobbies, but by the time they added lobbies, the game was pretty much dead online. This game died online within less than a month.
That's sad.
That's terrible for a fighting game. Absolutely terrible. The most active that the game was like when it first came out. Like, that first night, I was having match after match after match, and then after that, it just died. And you compare that to pretty much any other fighting game that's on the market that came out last generation, everything is still active for the most part, except for Dead or Alive 6. And it's a fucking shame. They didn't really add any new characters. The story mode, too, that's another thing that was fucked up with Dead or Alive 6. The story mode did not work at all. The story was fucking terrible. Then they actually inserted Hanoka, the Hanoka character, which that's one of the worst fucking characters I've ever seen in a video game. They put Hanoka and Marie Rose as actual, canon characters into the story of Dead or Alive, and I couldn't take that seriously at all. And yeah, it was just bad, dude. It was just bad. There was no penalties for rage quitters or anything. The online mode was awful. There was no new game types like offline, no new gameplay modes. They removed tag team. There was no tag team in the game. There's still no tag team. And then this game really died after Koei Tecmo tried to rip people off by trying to force people to pay actual money for in-game character customization. The thing that set people off the edge was being forced to change a character's hair color.
Oh, you were forced to?
Yeah. Like, if you wanted to change a character's hair color, you had to pay microtransactions. You had to fucking pay real world money to have that happen. And they received a lot of backlash for that. And yeah, people just had enough. Yeah, right. And people just had enough with the money gouge bullshit. And I wrote Koei Tecmo off after Dead or Alive 6. Like, I don't want to support them anymore. The last game I bought from them is Neo 2, and that was some other copy-paste bullshit from them. And even that's dead now. They already came out and said they're not making any more Neo games, and so like I said, Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, they're one of the worst companies. They're some of the worst companies in the gaming industry, and I just after Dead or Alive 6, I can't fuck with them anymore. So yeah, that's my number 10. Number 9 for my worst list, my top 10 worst list for the 8th
Huh?
generation is Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Oh, okay, a Wolfenstein game. Okay, what's going on there?
This one, this was a strange fucking game, dude. This shit right here, dude. Oh man, I'll tell you, like the Wolfenstein games, those are some of the best first-person shooter games like ever, dude.
I've heard.
And like so when this one was announced, like they set it up as this distant sequel from Wolfenstein 2, where you play as the daughters of the main character of the series, B.J. Blazkowicz. You play as his daughters, Jess and Soph. They're
Mm.
twins. First of all, first of all, these are some of the worst fucking written characters I've ever seen. Like they're just annoying. They have loading screens where you'll go inside like an elevator or whatever, and these two idiots will fucking like play fight with each other. They're supposed to be like grown ass women and they act like children. Um, then they set Youngblood up to be this co-op game, which is very different from all the other Wolfenstein games. But it's not just a co-op game; it's also an RPG.
Mm.
So the problem there is, I have an issue with turning franchises into something that they're not. The
Mm.
Wolfenstein games are primarily first-person shooter, linear first-person shooters. This
Mm.
one is a linear first-person shooter, but it's an RPG. So the enemies are damage sponges. That means the guns
Oh,
are
yeah.
the guns are underpowered, so much to the point
Mm.
that you'll empty 3 clips into some enemies and still won't they still will be standing and you know they're not dead, and you're like, what
Yeah.
the fuck, like I've emptied 3 clips into you, like what the
Mm.
fuck, and it's just one enemy, and then you'll have like fucking 10 different other enemy NPCs on screen at once trying to kill you, and it's just that's terrible game design, dude. That's just bad. I have no idea. Like it seems like they didn't even play test the shit. To
Mm.
to make it even worse, the enemies, like I discovered the guns are actually useless because you can just walk up to the enemies and just like use the melee. Like that's the fastest way to kill them is with the melee and shit. And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me with this shit right here. It's like they
Mm.
didn't. It's like, what the hell were they thinking? You know. I have no idea like what happened behind the scenes with this one, but even the level design wasn't good. Like, cause
Mm.
the Wolfenstein games are presented as a level by level, like a traditional first person shooter. This
Mm.
one has a series of hubs, and you travel to the different hubs through this underground subway system. Then you start to realize after a while that everything starts to look the same, and then you have to like go back to certain, you have to retread back to certain levels or certain
Mm.
areas, and the game just becomes boring. Like it just gets boring quick. Then, because it's a co-op game, if you try and play solo, the AI, this game has some of the worst AI I've ever seen as far as like it being a co-op game. It's just as bad, if not worse, than Resident Evil 5. I'm not sure if you ever played Resident Evil 5 before, but
I haven't had the chance to play.
yeah, that's known to have like one of the worst AI co-op companions, Sheva, in that game. And yeah, no matter, like, you get to choose which sister you want to play as. Like if you want to play as Jess, you can. If you want to play as Soph, you can. Like it doesn't matter who you play as. The AI will take over the other sibling, and just every 10 seconds the AI is getting downed, and then you have to run and go pick up your partner. And if your partner dies, like and you can't run out there and save them, then you get a game over, and then you have to start off from the fucking checkpoint. And
Damn.
yeah, it's terrible. This is one of the worst releases I've seen all generation. No idea what the hell they were thinking with this one at all. Especially if you compare it to the first three. Yeah, just awful game, awful.
Yeah, you surprised me there. I've always heard a lot of good things about the Wolfenstein game. I guess this one was a big dud.
Oh yeah, yeah. It didn't review well either. It got a lot of mediocre scores. So, my next one, number 8. This one is a mixture of 3 different games. This is Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla.
Oh, okay, so you're stacking all 3 right there.
Yeah. I did not play Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm going to say that right now. I don't have to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I know it's pretty much exactly the same as Origins and Odyssey. There's not much that's actually different about it. It's just another lazy copy paste job from Ubisoft.
You put a lot of hours into both into Odyssey and Origins, right?
Yeah. I completed Origins and Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey was like a big wake up call. Like Origins, I saw the type of game that it was, and I mentioned this in my retrospective that, I saw the type of game that they were making, and I realized that's not Assassin's Creed, and they were just trying to copy other popular RPG games, other RPG franchises, like with The Witcher 3, Fallout comes to mind, Mass Effect comes to mind. Yeah, just this one. It didn't feel right to me, and it looked like they were trying to copy Dark Souls or make their own version of Dark Souls with the combat system. Nothing about it resembled Assassin's Creed at all, and so I had skipped it. And then a coworker at the time, going on 2 years, pretty much 2 years ago, convinced me to at least try out Origins. So I bought Origins and Odyssey for a discounted price on PlayStation 4. These games are just annoying, dude. They're annoying. They're repetitive as fuck. They're long as fuck for pretty much no reason. The RPG mechanics are terrible because what they did with these games is that they have all these different regions on the map, and the map is like the size of a fucking continent. Like it's huge. Like I'm not fucking like joking. Like Odyssey in particular, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey is like probably the biggest game I've ever played. It's fucking massive. Like the map is just huge. It can take like 20 minutes or more to go from one end of the map to all the way to the other side. That's how big it is. Like the repetitive nature of it, it's like they have these regions or whatever. Everything's separated by this region, but then they capped the regions to a specific level. Like so, in order to explore this region, you have to be a level 46. You can still go to the region, right? You can still go to this region that's level 46, but if you do, you're going to run into level 46 enemies who are going to kill you in 5 seconds if you're not at the appropriate level. And so that's not true exploration to me. That's bullshit. That means I have to essentially play through the story mode and then waste my time with a bunch of side quests and level up until I'm strong enough to explore that region, which completely goes against the whole concept of an open world game in the style that they presented it. They presented it as you can go anywhere and do anything. But if you cap the regions off at a certain number, then I can't really do that. I still have to play the game in order. Another problem is like I said, these games are extremely repetitive. The side missions are, some of them are good, some of them are well written, but because there's so many of them, there's dozens upon dozens upon dozens of side missions, and it never fucking ends. It feels like the game just goes on forever and ever and ever, especially in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like they went way overboard, and these games are an example of, if someone asks you the question, can a video game have too much content? These games prove that yeah, a video game can have too much content for sure. And yeah, man, the combat system wasn't good. Just the mechanics of it, the way it feels is just it's sluggish. It feels unresponsive. Enemies can just gang up on you and just there's not much you can do. It was designed a bit better in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but it still didn't feel like Assassin's Creed at all. And it's so bad to the point like where in Odyssey there was like no assassins in the game at all. I don't even know why it was called Assassin's Creed, to be honest with you. Like
Hmm.
the only connection it has to the older games is the modern day parts, but those have been like streamlined. Like they for the most part they've been cut out of the newer games, the modern day aspect, which is part of what makes Assassin's Creed, you know. And then like I said, it got so bad to the point where I just fucking despise these two games right here, and I refuse to play Valhalla. Like I'm not gonna waste my time with that shit when I know it's the same
Yeah,
when I know it's the same garbage.
with you on. I played the first Assassin's Creed game, and I have to say Valhalla. I'm like, why did they even slap the Assassin's Creed title on that one?
Yeah, that doesn't make any. It's supposed to be like this Vikings thing, and I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense within the context of the series. If
Mhm.
if you really like pay attention to the lore and everything of the series, it doesn't make any sense at all. The last true Assassin's Creed game was Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which both you and I did play. I did enjoy Syndicate quite a bit, mainly due to its setting and the two characters, Jacob and Evie, the twins. And I did enjoy that game. The problem with Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed 3 did a lot of damage to the series, and then everyone pretty much unanimously loves Assassin's Creed 4. And then Assassin's Creed Unity pretty much killed a lot of people's interest in the series. Yeah, I don't know like what Ubisoft's intention was with these games, and then if you go to the pause menu or whatever, they got the annoying fucking inventory system. They got like three separate skill trees in these games, and it's just like they just wanted to make the biggest game ever.
Hmm.
Um, and the game has the depth of a fucking pool. It's just bigger isn't always better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger is not always better, and that these games prove that more
Yeah.
so than anything I've seen this generation. And so it's just a master of none situation with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. And I'm just
Hmm.
done with Assassin's Creed. I'm not going to support the series anymore. It's bullshit.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It baffles me that people are you still support this series. It makes no sense.
Hmm.
So that's my number 8. My number 7 is Dissidia Final Fantasy NT.
Okay, I never got the chance to play that one either. So yeah, let's talk a little more about that.
So this game royally pissed me off. Square Enix, man, this what I'm talking about. Square Enix has to be my most hated fucking company in the industry. I cannot stand Square Enix at all, because I know that they are capable of making fantastic games. Like if Square Enix wanted to, if it wasn't for like their higher level management, they would make some of the best video games ever. Like no one would be able to fucking touch them if they could just get
Hmm.
their fucking act together and stop making dumbass decisions. But this game just none of this made any fucking sense if you play the older Dissidia games, specifically Duodecim on the PSP. This was touted to be like the first major Dissidia game released to console. And first it was released in Japanese arcades, and then it eventually came to PlayStation 4. This was officially released in the States on console at the beginning of 2018. And I bought the game for I think $35 on Amazon. I played a lot of this game.
Hmm.
It's one of those rare situations where I loved the previous game so much that I wanted to love this one, and I put a lot of fucking hours into this shit. I played like over 100 hours of this fucking game, dude. And
Hmm.
I don't know why the fuck I did that shit because this shit was fucking awful, man. Just no content at all, dude. No fucking content at all with this game. All they have is fucking gauntlet mode, which I played the shit out of. Mainly just leveling up the characters and shit. There's a story mode, but after you beat it, you can't replay it. Most of it is cutscenes. They removed the free roam that was in Duodecim. They removed the character customization. The customization in Dissidia NT is purely cosmetic, and then
Hmm.
a lot of the DLC is expensive. Like they have they have specific costumes for certain characters. Like they have Cloud and Sephiroth's Kingdom Hearts costumes that you can buy. But they're $13.
Oh wow.
Yeah. This fucking game right here, it has some of the most expensive ass fucking DLC I've ever seen in a video game. It's just what the fuck, yo. Another thing is the older Dissidia games were they were one-on-one fighting games. But this one is a team. It's a team-based fighter. It's 3-on-3, and you can't change it. And then it's presented as an arena fighter too. So immediately you have issues with the camera, and the lock-on system is weird. Like for the most part, you're always locked on to something, and that can create issues in the fighting where you intend to attack a specific target, but then someone else comes off screen and attacks you, and then it's just they retain some of the same gameplay design from the older games where you have like a bravery attack and an HP, a health point attack where that actually takes away the health of your opponent. I don't know, it didn't feel like it really progressed what was already in the older Dissidia games, and it just seemed like they just went backwards instead of forwards on a lot of different things. Everything inside the in-game store menu in the main menu was expensive. It cost like 3,600 gil or whatever to unlock a new character skin or whatever the fuck it was. And it's just like the game barely gives you any gil in the first place, so you have to constantly play the boring ass gauntlet mode in order to save up for some of the few neat items that they have in the in-game store menu. And then they have the summon battles, and the summon battles are fucking awful because of how overpowered they are. Your AI companions are stupid as fuck. They'll get downed over and over again and cause you to lose matches. Hardly anyone plays this shit online, so if you want to play a game, play a match online, it takes like 10 minutes to find a match, and then most of the time you're just going to be paired with the CPU playing online because the game simply can't find anyone for you to play with. Yeah, it's fucking terrible. The only DLC character that I bought with this was Tifa. And she was pretty much designed the same way that she was in Duodecim, so there was really nothing new with that character. There was nothing new with really any of the characters. They expanded some of their attack animations compared to Duodecim, the returning characters, but they all pretty much played the same. Yeah, man, this is just it's one of the laziest things I've ever seen. Square Enix is a big publisher. They got money. They got serious money, and yeah, shit like this is just unacceptable. Just awful, fucking awful.
Another dud from Square Enix.
Yeah. So my number 6, and I know you played this one, and I'm not really a fan of this series, but I did enjoy the fourth entry, which was supposed to be the last entry. Can you guess what I'm talking about?
Nah, tell me what it is.
Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Oh no, I never played Metal Gear Solid 5: Phantom Pain.
Oh, I thought you did.
Well,
okay. I remember you talking about it, and then like this was years ago, and then I told you that how it really was, and I showed you that video on YouTube, and I guess that turned you off from wanting to play it. But yeah, this mess right here, man.
I know for sure it's a big disappointment after hearing
this shit right here. Man. I don't know what the fuck happened with Hideo Kojima. He like just lost brain cells last generation, because this shit didn't make any sense at all. Let's design a fucking open world game from a franchise that's predominantly known to be a linear stealth based experience. How can you have a stealth game, right? A game that's supposed to emphasize stealth, and you making it this big, expansive open world game with all this empty space, how are you going to hide from anything? That just goes against the concept of Metal Gear Solid. It goes against the concept of the series. This is one of the prime examples of a game that's, that went open world that shouldn't have been open world, that didn't need to be open world, and it did not work at all. Metal Gear Solid 5 has the most boring ass open world I've ever seen. It's just a big ass, empty ass desert. There's nothing in it. It just has random outposts of enemies just up in, just standing around basically. You travel the open world through with this horse, and you can't like cut through the open world. You have to follow a specific path and go around entire like mountains and these big large structures in order to get to where you want to go. You can fast travel in the game, but then you got to wait for a helicopter to come and pick you up, and then you got to sit through a cutscene, and then the helicopter will you got to wait for the helicopter to land, and then you get out of the helicopter, and it's like, what the fuck, yo? Why is everything so... Why does it take forever to do something so simple in this game, And like the main praise with this was like the combat system, like, oh, this has some of the best combat I've ever played. I would see comments like that a lot with this game, and I'm like, are you fucking idiots for real? It's like, yeah, the shooting mechanics aren't bad, they're pretty good, but it doesn't matter when everything else is just shit. Similar to Final Fantasy 15, this game was released unfinished. There was supposed to be 3 acts with Metal Gear Solid 5. The game was released before Act 3 was even finished. And then there was the controversy between Hideo Kojima and the company he used to work for, Konami, whom he worked for I believe, 20 years or something like that. All of the Metal Gear Solid games were released under Konami. The problem with this game, with its development, is that Hideo Kojima, he basically blew the game's budget. He was given this massive budget, and he was blowing it on dumb shit, like re-recording songs that didn't need to be re-recorded, hiring people he didn't have the money for, and just he made an entire engine. And Square Enix made the same mistake with Final Fantasy 15. Like he made an entire engine from the ground up just for this game, and it's like, first of all, that costs a lot of time. That costs a lot of money. These publishers, they have to get these games out by a certain time frame. So you don't have time to be doing all, making new engines and shit that you really don't need. It doesn't make any sense at all. And like making a new engine doesn't make your game better. If anything, it has the potential to make it worse, because then you start focusing on things that aren't really necessary, And most of it is like related to like the graphics and the different the interactivity of how the characters respond to each other in the world and all that. But like I said, they didn't really do anything special with that. Another thing I noticed when I played this game is that like Act 1, you'll have Act 1, and then you'll complete Act 1, and then Act 2 is just Act 1 on a harder difficulty, on a higher difficulty. And I'm like, what is this? It's like it's like he designed half a game and didn't bother to go back and try and finish what was actually there. But I think by the time he got to Act 2, things were just falling apart behind the scenes. And he had to just basically wing it and just release. Konami said, fuck you, we got to get this game out by the holiday season. We're just going to release what we got. And so this is what came to be. And it's just awful. The fucking story is dumb. The characters and shit are just fucking stupid. They even lied during the game's marketing. Like, apparently this is supposed to be a prequel, right? And you're supposed to be playing this character, Big Boss, who's like he's one of the most popular like Metal Gear Solid characters. But as it turns out, by the end of the game, you realize that you come to the revelation that you're not actually playing as Big Boss. You're playing as an imitation, and it's like I'm not invested into like the story of Metal Gear Solid, but for people who are, I can only imagine how disappointing.
It's fucking disappointing.
Yeah, I can only imagine how disappointed some people were. And then you have the quiet character. What the fuck with that character? It's like Japanese game developers are criticized for especially with the political climate today of making these ridiculous androgynous female characters who are just sexualized, and they have no point or purpose for being sexualized. And this was just another prime example of that. It's like this game came out in 2015. It's like it's time to grow up. Yeah, this game was just awful, man. It's just terrible. I see this game listed as like one of the best video games that came out last generation. I'm like, anyone who says that this is one of the best games that came out, it's like you're full of shit, or your taste is shit, or both. It's like not like fuck off. Something's wrong with you. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a piece of fucking dog shit. Shouldn't have made the game at all, because the series technically ended with 4. So yeah, I don't understand this one at all. It's just random, and it's bad. So that's my number 6. My number 5, Star Wars.
Oh, never mind. I guess not.
No. Star Wars Battlefront 2015. Oh boy, Star Wars Battlefront 2015. Yeah, this.
After all the updates, you love it now.
This shit right here, man. This entire release was just fucking anti-consumer. Jesus Christ, like EA didn't give a fuck, dude. This came out the same year that Star Wars The Force Awakens came out. And it was to coincide with the release of Star Wars The Force Awakens, which came out in December. This game came out in November that year. And EA presented it as a reboot to the Star Wars Battlefront series. Now, when LucasArts shut down, Disney shut down LucasArts, and then they made a deal with EA for the next 12 years to make Star Wars games exclusively. They didn't have to bring back Star Wars Battlefront at all. They could have made a new IP or whatever and just stuck with that. They decided to bring back Battlefronts, and so they had a lot of responsibility with that, and they did not start off on a good foot at all. I remember the day that they showed more details. They revealed more details about this game months leading into the release. I believe it was on Star Wars Day, May 5th, Star Wars Day that year. And IGN was posting all these different articles on the game, and some of the decisions that they were making just didn't make any sense. Like, no prequel era at all. No prequel era planets, no prequel era units, nothing. None of the characters from the prequels, none of the vehicles from the prequels, none of the planets from the prequels. I'm like, you can't ignore the fucking prequels, especially when the last game, the pandemic version, had already introduced that era into Battlefront, and they completely neglected that. Then what really baffled me was no space battles. I'm like, I'm sorry? This is a fucking Star Wars Battlefront game. What do you mean I can't fucking go into space and dogfight? I'm just, I'm like, what the fuck? And then this is the thing that really where I said, no, I'm not buying this game at all. And I didn't play it until I think almost 2 years later. Like, I'm not shitting you. They only had 5 planets at release. 5 fucking planets.
Sad.
For $60. They wanted $60 for 5 fucking planets. No prequel era. No fucking no fucking dogfighting. There were only 2 lightsaber users, which is Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. That's because they only focused on the original trilogy. So no Yoda, no Mace Windu, no Obi-Wan Kenobi, no Anakin, no Darth Maul. No nothing, dude. Like, I was just, I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reviews came out, and they were mediocre as fuck. They were mediocre
I
as
remember
fuck.
that.
And yeah, like no one really liked this game. Even like the lead singer from one of my favorite bands, the lead singer of Breaking Benjamin, Ben Burnley.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that year on his Twitter, he uploaded a photo of, because he bought the game on Xbox One.
Yeah.
He uploaded a photo to his Twitter of the game disc broken in half. I saw that shit. I flipped out laughing, dude. And he went on. They interviewed him about that, and he was like, "Yeah, it's just not as good as the older games." It's like when you get that type of response from what essentially is a celebrity, it's like, come on, that's how you know you've done fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
EA, what they wanted to do was they wanted to cash in and make a quick buck off of the hype of a new Star Wars movie coming out. Yeah, they succeeded. This game sold, I think, 17 million copies or some shit within the first weekend. And yeah, yeah, they had already greenlighted Star Wars Battlefront 2 like immediately. Fortunately, by the end of of its life cycle, Star Wars Battlefront 2 ended up being a great game. But this is where they started.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like I said, this is completely unacceptable. I think EA learned a lesson not to do this shit again. Yeah, this is one of the most lazy releases I've seen from the gaming industry. Number 4.
Let's get it.
This fucking game. I hate this fucking game right here, dude. We're getting into like I despise you territory. Like if I see if I meet one of these fucking game developers, like I'm gonna fucking drop kick you in your fucking face, dude. Like,
Give me
like I like don't fucking like come around me or anything because I'm gonna fucking attack you. Like this is we're getting into that territory right now. Number 4, Mortal Kombat 11.
Oh yeah.
Fuck this game, dude. Fuck this game. I hate this piece of shit right here, man.
Yeah, been out all the hate for it.
Yeah, I can't stand this fucking game at all, man. Yeah, I just this is one of the rare cases where similar to the Dissidia NT where I really wanted to love this game. I bought it day one. I bought it. I bought all the DLC. I bought it. I rebought the game on PC. Rebought all the fucking DLC. I put over 300 hours into the PS4 version, which I didn't mean to do, and I put almost about 50 hours into the PC version, close to, and I really wanted to love this game. I just can't. I can't. No matter how much I play it, it doesn't matter how many hours I put into it. It's just a bad game, dude. It's a bad game. This was review bombed on Metacritic. It's one of those games that was review bombed. It's like first of all, WB Games and NetherRealm Studios got greedy with this because there's an in-game microtransaction menu in the fucking. It's in the main menu, dude. You can pull it up with one of the shoulder buttons. And they want you to buy fucking time crystals so you can buy stupid shit, dude. Like, buy this skin, buy this character skin, buy this fucking banner or this character intro or this character victory or this brutality. And I'm like, this is fucking bullshit, dude. The character skins. That's the whole point of this game, is to unlock these fucking character skins, of which you only have 5 presets per character. And because you only have 5 presets per character, you can only equip 5 skins at a time. But every character in the game minimum has 40 skins. All the base characters in the game have at least 70 or more. Like that's how many skins that are in the game. And that's all you do is you'll play Towers of Time mode, or you'll play the Crypt, or you'll play online. That's all you do. Like the whole point is to unlock these stupid fucking skins, most of which you'll never use. The Towers of Time mode is locked to online. Well, the game is online only. Like if you go on offline with Mortal Kombat 11, the only thing you can play is offline versus, like local versus, and that's it. The Towers of Time mode, you're locked from the Towers of Time mode. You're locked from the Crypt. You're locked from obviously the online modes if you go offline, and so that's a big problem. I had a big problem with that. Yeah, as I said, you're locked from those modes of the game, and then there's issues with the character imbalance with the roster. Certain characters have like these ridiculous move sets where they have a bunch of different options available to them, while others don't really have anything to work with, and then that just makes it to where players who play as certain characters have to basically spam the same attacks with them because NetherRealm Studios didn't give these characters anything to work with. And characters that I'm talking about are characters like Sindel, characters like Scarlet, characters like Cetrian, and if you compare those characters to someone like Scorpion or Sonya, Cassie Cage, even like Shang Tsung, it's like those characters have options, and they have their different variations or whatever you can kind of play around with, whereas none of that really helps certain characters, again, such as Scarlet, for example, or Jade. Then you have characters who were designed to be like zoning characters, like where the whole point is for them to spam projectiles across the screen. Jade's designed that way, Scarlet's designed that way, RoboCop is designed that way. I don't understand. Like, why would you? It's a fighting game. Why would you design a character in the fighting game to just spam projectile attacks across the screen? What sense does that make? As I told you before, a lot of the characters can just teleport across the screen. There's no limit on it. There should be a limit on it, but there's not. And so casual players can just pick up a controller and spam the same bullshit over and over again. And because of how terrible the fucking frame data is, there's not much of anything that you can do to counter. And sometimes the game will just screw you over because the hitboxes aren't designed well either. Pretty much half the characters in the game can teleport across the screen instantly. Terminator, Scorpion, Jade, Cetrian, the Collector, Noob Saibot, Liu Kang, Kung Lao. It's just like, why, man? Why? Like, I just don't understand this. And my whole thing was like, when this game came out, I was defending it. I was like, no, they're going to fix it. They're going to update it, and they're going to fix the issues that it has. Nope. They haven't fixed a fucking thing that's wrong with any of the characters or the gameplay modes, and the game has been out for over a year. To me, that's just a slap in the face. It's like you're disrespecting me as a customer now. Yeah, man. I'm close to putting NetherRealm Studios on my blacklist. If they release another fucking game like Mortal Kombat 11, I'm done. We're done. We're not. It's like, nah, I'm not gonna tolerate that shit. Like, you guys need to like get some quality control with these fucking with these games, and just play test the shit. Don't just design the shit and just release it. No, actually sit down and fucking play your goddamn game. Goddamn it. Yeah, man. I just Mortal Kombat 11 is a piece of fucking dog shit. I don't like it. It's not a good game. It's designed very average. It's designed to cater to casual players, which other fighting games like Dragon Ball Fighters, for example, you can't. If you put like 10 to 15 hours into Dragon Ball Fighters and you're like decent at the game, it doesn't matter. You will get your ass whooped against someone who's played the game a lot longer than you have, and that's the way it should be with these fighting games. You shouldn't be able to just pick up a controller and spam the same attack and win against someone who's played the game longer. You just shouldn't. That's not good game design. And so, yeah, Mortal Kombat 11, like I said, it's not a good game at all. I can't stand it. That's my number 4.
Okay.
My number 3. Yeah, my number 3 is another Square Enix game. Can you guess what it is?
Is it that Avengers game?
Yep. You guessed right. Yeah, Marvel's Avengers from Square Enix.
All right, get into it.
Yeah, this right here is like, this had red flags from the beginning, because first of all, it wasn't even marketed properly. Like, no one really knew what this game was when they first revealed it, because when they first revealed it, all they did was show a CGI trailer. They didn't show any gameplay, and that's a red flag within of itself. When they actually did show gameplay, people were still confused. Like, people didn't really like get it. It wasn't until, you know, a few months leading up to the release that gaming journalists who got to play the game behind the scenes actually, you know, were able to divulge as to what kind of game it is. And basically what it is, it's a fucking, it's basically a ripoff of Destiny. It's another games as a service title where you go around and you open up these crates and loot boxes and these hub, you know, basically these hub levels or whatever, and you have like 5 or 6 different levels, which is a joke within of itself. Yeah, you only have access to 5 different Avengers, which is Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, Iron Man, and Thor. I guess they forgot Hawkeye, you know, or, you know, they reserved him as DLC, but, you know, I'm not paying any DLC for this shit. They have a story mode in the game that's decent, like the story of it with Kamala Khan. She's another one of the playable characters. She's like the main character of the game, which is a very strange choice because Kamala Khan hasn't been introduced in the MCU yet. They're actually coming out with a Miss Marvel TV show. You know, however that goes is, you know, that's the MCU. This is not the MCU. It seemed like a random decision to, you know, make a game where you play as this character that no one really knows, unless you're like a hardcore like comic book fanatic. And the story mode, like I said, is, you know, it's only around 10 hours long, and then after you beat it, you can't replay it, which is the only thing that's decent. That's the only thing that's decent about the game. And then to make it even worse, there's just no content after the game is over. It's like you just play these repetitive missions where you'll drop into a level, you'll go around, you'll beat up some robots or whatever, and then you'll run to the end of the stage, you'll collect your stupid fucking loot. That's it. That's the game, dude. it's lazy as fuck. And it's anti-consumer as fuck. They have an in-game microtransaction menu in the game where you can buy skins, and I'm just like, why, man? Why? You know, how do you fuck up an Avengers game, dude? This is like the most popular entertainment property in entertainment. How do you fuck that up? And you would expect something like this from like EA or something. It's like Square Enix is like, man, this is where I had to cut Square Enix off, and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. That's why, like, they have a new Nier game coming out this year. Nier Replicant is like the prequel. It's a re-release of the first Nier game, basically. And I have no interest in it at all, simply because Square Enix's name is attached to it. I can't fucking stand Square Enix at this point. Not only are they not trying, but then they're actively trying to rip people off, and then have the audacity to disrespect, you know, this IP that everyone knows and loves. Yeah, I can't do it anymore. Yeah, this game was just, it's one of the worst releases, and you would think that they would have learned their lesson after the failure that was Dissidia NT, but they tried it again, and they failed again. This game was bombed on Metacritic. People, even some of the most hardcore Square Enix fans will say this game isn't good, dude. It's like it has a mixed reception on Steam. Yeah, no one really likes this game. It's just it died within less than a month, which I predicted. Like some people thought I was fucking crazy for saying that on YouTube. It's like, no, I was correct. This game fucking died. No one's really playing this bullshit anymore. When I tried to play online on PS4, it took me 20 minutes to find anybody, to find a strike team. Yeah, that's bad, dude. And that wasn't even a month after the game came out. That was like 2 weeks after it came out. Yeah, it's bad, dude. It's bad. And then they tried to pull some DLC shit where they locked Spider-Man to the PS4 version of the game. I'm like, man, y'all can fuck off with this shit right here.
Ain't no saving the game.
Yeah, then nah, that shit's dead. So we're down to my top two.
All right. Curious to know what number 2 is now.
I think you know what number 2 is.
Do I? Make a guess. Death Stranding?
No, I refuse to play Death Stranding. Oh hell no! I already knew that was on that was gonna be some bullshit. I was like, nah, I ain't playing this bullshit.
Because I think I definitely know what your number 1 is. Number 2? Not too sure.
My number 2 is God of War.
Oh, okay.
You probably thought that was my number 1.
Yeah, I did.
Nah, my number 2 is God of War. I fucking despise this fucking game right here, man. God of War is like, people really don't understand. It's like, how can you not like this game? How can you not like it? It's like, did you play the older games? If the answer to that question is yes, then you would see if you have any brain cells as to why this game is far inferior to those, to God of War 1, 2, and 3. Those are some of the best video games ever made, dude. Like,
sure, no doubt.
We're not just talking about like combat. We're talking about in scope, in scale, even the story. There's some of the best games ever made, and this game just actively goes out of its way to not only copy other games and not do a good job of copying those concepts from other games, but also it actively removes everything that was pretty much good in the older games. And like I said, I had a lot of issues with this. You were the one who actually, told me first. You saw the initial gameplay reveal first, because I remember that night I was working at Walmart at the time, and I was on my shift, and I went to my lunch break, and you had sent me a text message, and you were like, "Oh, they fucked up God of War. I can't believe what they did," and I was like, "What the fuck happened?" So, I sat down. I pulled out my phone. I sat down on the futon in the TLE room. Yeah, I pulled up the reveal trailer, or the reveal gameplay footage for E3 that year, and I sat there and I was like, "What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?" It looked like like they were trying to make a walking simulator, and they put Kratos in it, and I was like, huh? What is this, dude? And then the more they showed gameplay, the more I just shook my head, and I was like, dude, you guys ruined this, dude. You ruined God of War. Why? And then to make it worse, I found out that Cory Barlog, who directed the best game in the series, God of War 2, he directed this bullshit.
Oh, no. No. Wow.
I was
that
like,
shit's awful to know.
Yeah, and
that's heartbreaking.
It is, but I assume what happened was because David Gaffey, I think it is either Gaffey or Jaffe, he's the one who created God of War, the series. He created the character Kratos. He's the one who's really the mastermind behind the series, and so he directed the first game, the original 2005 God of War on PS2, and then he didn't. Cory Barlog directed God of War 2, but David Gaffey, or Gaffey, whatever, he was still the lead producer, I think, of God of War 2. And then someone else, the person who directed Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, directed God of War 3. I forget his name off the top of my head, but Yeah, it's basically David Gaffey. He was out by this point in the series. He was actually out of the gaming industry. Like he doesn't make video games anymore.
Do you know what he does now?
Blog. Yeah, he's not really a part of that industry anymore, that ecosystem. To me, this game, it's like the two games that it copied were The Last of Us and Dark Souls. There's a lot of similarities between God of War 2018 and The Last of Us and Dark Souls. It's a walking simulator for a lot of it, similar to The Last of Us. It has a child NPC and a parent-child relationship, just like The Last of Us, which is not an accident. You know, The Last of Us, the first game, won over 200 Game of the Year awards, like over 250 Game of the Year awards. So it's clear that that's what they wanted, that that's what they were going for. And then on top of that, the combat system is very reminiscent of Dark Souls. It has pretty much the same controls, like you attack with the shoulder buttons and all that, and then you have a light attack, a strong attack. Even some of the, like one of the boss fights is a fucking rip off of Dark Souls. The Orstein and Smog or whatever from Dark Souls 1, they copied that. They copied that boss fight. And you know, later in the game, it's like you're not you're not The Last of Us, you're not Dark Souls, you're God of War. I wanted a God of War game, and I didn't get that. And to make it even worse, they made this game an RPG. The God of War series, they're action adventure games, they're not RPG games. Instead of it being about skill, now it's about stats. You know, it's about how, you know, what my level is, rather than what my, you know, how good I am at the game. And I can't stand that at all. And it's like that from start to finish. Then they ruined the character of Kratos. This game completely misses the point of Kratos. Kratos is like a damaged soul. You know, he's a character that, you know, who killed his wife and his daughter because he was manipulated into doing so by the gods, and that's why he's so pissed off in the earlier games in the series. That's why he wants his, you know, the whole thing with revenge. And that was the whole point of the character. The whole point was you're just angry, you're pissed off. David Gaffey, he wanted a character like that. He wanted a character that emphasized that. And so, you know, Kratos was this all powerful, you know, badass character who could take on anything and fucking destroy. It doesn't matter how big the threat was. You know, it doesn't matter how, if he was surrounded. Like if you went up against Kratos, like you were gonna fucking like get your shit kicked in, you know. And you know, he was a character who just did whatever he wanted, had sex with beautiful women, fucking took on you know, these fucking Greek mythological creatures, and just fucking decimated anything that came into his path. Literally took out the gods of Olympus single-handedly. You know, it's like this is the kind of character that Kratos was, and then, you know, in this game he's just a bitch basically. He's just a dad, and it's like, first of all, that doesn't even make any sense because he was already a dad. He already had a kid. Why would he have another child? You know, it's like, if you're gonna make a decision like that, at least explain it. But the game doesn't even bother to try and tie the gap between God of War 3 and this one. Because you put Kratos in the game, you know, now all of a sudden this game connects to the older ones. And so, like, when they were developing this game, at first they weren't going to use Kratos. At first they were going to go with a different character, and that's what they should have done from the get-go. Had they have done that, this game would be completely different. I would view it completely different to what it actually is. But because they decided to use Kratos, and they decided to call it God of War, and they decided for it to be a soft reboot, which means it still connects to the older games in the series. Now, you know, I have to compare it to the older games, and if you compare it to the older games were better. They had a better combat system. They had a better story. They had you know, an actual point, like when you go up against the bosses or whatever. The boss characters in God of War 2018, they're just random enemies that pop up on screen for no reason, and you just start fighting them for no reason. They just come out of nowhere. It's like, what is this thing, and why am I fighting it? They don't even try, to explain anything that happens in the game. It's just a bunch of random shit. Like I said, man, the reaction to this game when it came out didn't surprise me at all. I knew this game was going to be overrated by gaming journalists. I knew it was going to get 10 out of 10s across the board because it's a PlayStation exclusive for one, and for two, it copies elements of other games that are already popular. Were already popular by the time this game came out with The Last of Us and Dark Souls. It's one of the worst games I've played all generation. Even the story is fucking stupid. There's really no story in this game at all. The whole point of the game is for Kratos and Atreus to go up to this mountain peak or whatever. It's like a summit, and they just toss the ashes of the mother character into the distance, and that's it. That's
the best we could do.
Yeah. That's the whole game. That's the whole point. And the fucking game is like fucking 40 hours long or some shit just to do that. And I'm like, man, y'all can get this shit out of here, man. This shit is bullshit. You have a bunch of fucking retards that think that this game is better than the older ones. I'm like, man, you motherfuckers need to go back and play some old fucking games, dude. Saying some of these fucking video games, that these modern video games are better than some of the shit that came out years ago. Hell no. If I compare this to God of War 2 or 3, fuck no, this isn't better at all. Not even close. The fucking Kronos fight alone is better than this entire game. The Kronos boss fight in God of War 3, 10 times better than anything they have in this stupid ass game, dude. Yeah, man. They had that fucking giant serpent or whatever. From the E3 trailer, you remember that, right? Or I didn't.
Yep.
You can't fight that thing in the game. I don't even know why it's in the game. It's weird because towards the end of the game, you go inside it, like similar to Gears of War 2 when they were inside the fucking giant worm or whatever. Yeah, you go inside it and then you have to fight your way out, but it's not like an actual boss fight. And then you befriend it somehow, like Atreus can speak to it.
No, not.
And then you'll go into the fucking lake and it'll just be like sitting there, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? And then to make it even worse, they have these like secret boss fights at the end of the game, like after you beat the game. They're called Valkyries, and these are fucking. These boss fights are hard. Like they're hard, my dude. These are fucking Dark Souls boss fights. They're Dark Souls ripoff. Ripoff Dark Souls boss fights where you have to pay attention to every single little animation, or otherwise you'll be dead within like 2 or 3 hits. And some of them are so difficult you have to. I've replayed like 2 or 3 of them like dozens upon dozens of times, and it's just like this is not God of War. This is Dark Souls. I don't want a fucking Dark Souls game. I'm not even really that much of a fan of Dark Souls. I think those games are highly overrated. I wanted a fucking God of War game, and I did not get that. It's like there's nothing to understand. Like I would get these comments on my channel like, well, I kind of understand why you don't like this game. It's like, there's nothing to understand. I wanted a God of War game. I did not get a God of War game. You fucking retards on YouTube and on the internet. I didn't get a God of War game. This game is called God of War. It has Kratos in it. What the fuck? Yeah, God of War is just terrible. Terrible. And now we're at my number 1.
All right.
This one, I could not believe this shit right here, man. This shit right here. This is a game that came out last year. This is a game that received a lot of backlash. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this stupid ass game right here. I bought the fucking collector's edition of this stupid ass game, and I never buy collector's editions. But this one, I was like, it can't. No, this has to be good. This game is a sequel, and its prequel that came out won over 250 Game of the Year awards. Its prequel is considered to be on Metacritic the highest rated video game that came out the previous decade. That's from 2010 through 2019. I'm pretty sure you already know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Huh?
No, I have to say, Final Fantasy VII remake.
No.
What?
No.
What is it?
That's kind of a nice guess, but no.
What are you talking about then?
The Last of Us Part II.
Oh, wait, Last of Us Part 2? Hold up, I mean, Last of Us Part 1 came out when again?
2013.
Damn, time flies.
Yeah, the original Final Fantasy VII came out in 1997.
Oh damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Then again, I never played Final Fantasy VII, the original.
Yeah. But nah, the Last of Us Part 2. This game right here.
Let's go.
This fucking game right here, man. I just this entire game falls on the shoulders of Neil Druckmann. Neil Druckmann fucked up with this game. Just the fucking, it's not even the concept, because the concept of it could have worked. It's the execution. It's the way he went about it. The story in this game is bullshit. I'm just saying right now. All you have to do is watch my retrospective on it. I go over everything. First of all, the game actively, this is pretty much the Last Jedi of video games. That's what this is. This game actively goes out of its way to disrespect the characters from the original game. Like, for example, Ellie. Ellie brought the lightheartedness to the original game. She made you want Joel and Ellie to act, both of them, to succeed in their goal. That's part of what made that game work, is the dynamic between those two characters. Well, they kill Joel off within the first 2 hours of this game's story, and he does nothing important, and he's treated as an afterthought. Then Ellie herself is just a complete bitch in this game. She is an asshole. You understand why she's like that, because she's angry at what happened to Joel. But then they introduced this new character, Abby. Abby, the very existence of this character completely just contradicts the whole epilogue from the first game. Just completely contradicts it, because it's like, so this random character just happens to be related to one of the fucking NPC surgeons from the end of the first game. And then the funny part is, if you actually play the original, and you get to that point in the game where Joel enters into the operating room where they're about to kill Ellie, the surgeon that he kills is black in the original. He's not white. Abby is white. Her father is white. So they changed the ethnicity of the surgeon between the first game to the second. How the fuck does that make any sense? And that's just a form of I think they really overlooked that. I think that was a legit mistake that they made, because it's just, that doesn't even begin to make any sense. And then Abby, everything that happens with Abby in the story feels like it has absolutely nothing to do with Ellie or her revenge plot, because it really doesn't. Abby has her own story and everything. The problem is, you don't care about Abby, and you actively hate Abby for killing Joel, whom we are familiar with because of the first game. We're familiar with him. We care about Joel. No one cares about Abby. And because Abby killed Joel, it feels, you're forced into playing a character that you fucking hate for like 10 hours throughout the vast majority of the second the second half of the game. That just seemed, that wasn't even a risk. That was just a bad decision, plain and simple. It's like you play. It's like they force you to play as the villain. It's like I don't want to play as Abby. I don't. What the fuck? And then by the time you get to the end of the end of the game, it's just a waste of time. The whole revenge plot doesn't go anywhere. Ellie doesn't actually kill Abby. She lets her go. I'm like, what the fuck was the whole point of the previous 20 some odd hours that I played this stupid ass game?
Yeah, I remember you saying that in your review.
That's just fucking ridiculous, dude. And then the ending's all bleak and shit, and Joel is dead. Ellie has lost 2 fingers, fucking around with Abby. She's lost her lesbian girlfriend. She's left with nothing at the end of the game. Nothing. She can't even play guitar anymore because she doesn't have she doesn't have all her fingers. That was the one thing that was connecting her to Joel, because Joel taught her how to play guitar. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. What fucking morons wrote this fucking story, dude? And I actively had to look up who wrote this, and Neil Druckmann came up with the story, and then it was co-written by the writer of Westworld, Haley Gross. Now, I'm not familiar with Westworld. I heard the first 2 seasons were good, and then the third one kind of veered off. I don't know, but yeah, they completely disrespected the original characters in this game. You're forced to play as a character you fucking despise throughout the vast majority of the second half of the game. The game is too fucking long. The original The Last of Us was 15 hours. This this new one is like around 20 to 21 hours, somewhere around there. It's too long for the type of game that it is, and people started to notice other flaws too, like the way the AI is designed and everything. I didn't really have an issue with the gameplay itself, because it was pretty much in line with the first game. There were some issues I had, like with the new enemy types, like they added dogs in the combat encounters. The problem that I had with the dogs is that you can't mask your scent, because that's what they'll do. They'll enter into an area, and then they'll start. They have a specific trail that they follow based off of where the player goes. Basically, you can't actually like separate the dog away from its from its owner. You have to like basically try and sneak through the area fast enough before they spot you. But sometimes you simply can't do that, and you're forced into getting caught and actually having to deal with the AI that's on the screen. And I have a big problem with that, because in the original The Last of Us, you can sneak throughout pretty much every single combat encounter and not fight anything throughout that entire game. I've done it. I've done that. Outside of scripted sections where you're forced in the fighting, you can sneak throughout that entire game and not fight anything. The Last of Us Part II, if that's possible, it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. It's not easy at all. And yeah, man, it's one of the strangest fucking sequels I've ever seen.
I wasn't expecting that either.
No one was expecting it at all. It's like they went out their way to try and subvert expectations, and it's like the only thing you've done is piss off your audience. This game.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Said I remember when that leak happened, and then all that negative stuff started coming in. I was like, oh man,
Yeah,
this is crazy.
yeah. I mean, the reaction to this was just insane. And what this game did, it essentially split the fan base down the middle, which is what Star Wars: The Last Jedi did to the Star Wars fan base. And that's not a good sequel at all. A sequel is supposed to unify and make everyone happy, right? You'll always have a few naysayers and shit, and some people you can never please. But for the most part, like, a sequel is supposed to bring everyone together, and it's supposed to be like this big hoorah moment, right? But no, this game is split right down the middle. There are people that love this game. I don't understand those people at all. There are people that fucking hate this game. I'm one of them, and it's a weak release, man, from Naughty Dog. It's the fact that this is Naughty Dog and this is from their studio is what really made this just heartbreaking. Naughty Dog is like they're considered to be, or at least they were before this game, considered to be one of the best developers in the entire industry. Like no one can fucking like touch them because all they do is release fucking grade A quality, games. No one can fucking touch their shit, and then they go and release some nonsense like this. There were red flags leading up to release, like when they had Neil Druckmann present Anita Sarkeesian with an award back in 2014. It's like Anita Sarkeesian is she's one of the reasons I can't stand what gaming has become. The industry has become too politically motivated, and this game won Game of the Year. Gaming journalists, they ate this shit up. They were like, oh, this game got 10 out of 10s across the board. Highest rated game that came out last year, underneath Persona 5 Royal. Yeah, it's just I don't get it, dude. I don't get like how anyone can love this. It's like, I understand people who, you like the original game, but a bad game is a bad game. The original was loved for a reason. This game goes against everything that was great about the original. It only has snippets of what could have been had they, made different, went a different direction with it. Like I said, the scenes between, which are flashback sequences, the scenes between Joel and Ellie in the flashback sequences is just, that's what this game should have been. It should have been a continuation with those two characters, and if Neil Druckmann wanted to have his revenge plot, he still could have thrown it in there, and maybe like Joel died halfway through the game, which is what I thought was going to happen. But they intentionally released a misleading trailer to make it appear that he died like later in the game, or that he was going to die later in the game. But no, they kill him off within the first 2 hours, and it's just I've never seen the disrespect of a character like that. Just in any of these video games, I've never seen that. And it is no surprise why this game, was bombed on Metacritic. Why there's a large, group of people out there that don't like this game is because they weren't responsible in making a sequel that pleased people. Even Neil Druckmann himself came out and said that before this game was released that he believes that a lot of people aren't going to like the game. It's like, why the fuck did you make a game just to piss people off? Like, why would you make a game that just actively goes out of its way to anger its fan base? And then after the leaks happened, they were fucking DMCA striking YouTube channels for the leaks, posting spoilers on Twitter. They were blocking the ability for people to reply to them on Twitter after the leaks and shit. Yeah, man, it's just sad. Like, Naughty Dog went from one of the best development studios to, now I can't even fuck with y'all anymore. That's why I was telling you one of the last recordings we did. It's like, I need 2021 to be a good year. After The Last of Us Part II and Cyberpunk and some of these other games, I'm like, man, I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm not going to keep doing this at all. This is just unacceptable for with the gaming industry. This game should have been fucking fantastic, and it's not. It's not. All the praise and the awards and everything is just bullshit. One of the biggest disappointments ever for me. I know you played the original The Last of Us, and you found it to be phenomenal too, from what I remember.
Oh, it's a good thing I didn't experience the part 2.
Yeah, I'll second you on that. But yeah, that's my top 10 list. There are other games that definitely deserve to be to be on the list, but I can only have 10. Some other games, for example, such as Street Fighter V, with fucking, oh Jesus Christ, Street Fighter V is awful. Man of Medan, that's another one. trash, complete trash. Assassin's Creed Unity, trash. Watch Dogs Legion, trash. So yeah, there's definitely some other games that are pretty bad, but these 10 games right here, I'm just like, yeah, I can't fuck with this shit no more. With some of these companies and shit like Square Enix, the Koei Tecmo, Team Ninja, Naughty Dog, fucking Sony Santa Monica. I can't fuck with y'all no more, man. I don't care what kind of game they release in the future. I'm just out. That's my top 10 list for the worst games of the eighth generation. Now, I do want to discuss the top 10 best, but I did want to ask you because of the time. Do you just want to save this for next time, or?
If you don't mind doing the top 10 tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, I mean today. I mean.
I mean,
so you want to pick up later today?
Yeah. What time?
I'll be on at like 10. I'll try to get on a little earlier.
10 p.m.
If I can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, and then we'll do like I said, we'll discuss my top 10 then, and that'll give me time to edit through this one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, final thoughts on the list.
I won't want to say I'm surprised at number one, but I see all those games on there. I didn't play I think the only game I played on there was I don't think I played none of them really. Yeah, I didn't play any of the games really, but I'm not surprised. I was expecting Watch Dogs Legion to be on there because I read your Amazon review too for it, and I was like, I was expecting it to be somewhere on the top 10 list. I'm glad you mentioned it. Anyway.
Watch Dogs Legion was a piece of dog shit. That was pretty bad, but nah,
not surprised with the Assassin's Creed mention. I especially after Valhalla, I never want to. Assassin's Creed is just a shame now.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not surprised at The Last of Us 2. God of War is not a surprise either.
Nah.
And you said fighting games been pretty trash for you for a long time.
Yeah, I'm about to, like I said, I'm about to quit that genre. I'm about to be done. The only fighting game I have any interest in at this point is Injustice 3. That's it.
Let's hope that's not a disappointment. But man, the way the gaming industry is going, seems like everything is just turning to shit.
Yeah, everything's trash now. Everything's trash now. But my top 10 list leaves me some hope with gaming going forward. Like I said, we'll discuss my top 10 next time. So, yep, that's it for this discussion. And like I said, I'll make a separate video for the top 10 best. I wanted to put them both together, but this ran on a little bit too long. So,
all right, so we'll get started on the other one later today.
Yeah, we'll get started.